Hello everybody, it's Jodie here back for another furniture painting tutorial, and in today's tutorial I want to show you how to get this very simple easy look using silk mineral paint and the Magnolia Gardens transfer from the new Dixie Belle Bells and Whistles range, so stay tuned. So like any furniture makeover, it's a good idea to start by cleaning your piece really thoroughly. I like to use white lightning because it takes off all that kind of gross stuff, and it also removes like old varnish and things like that as well. And then once that has been cleaned and you've given it a rinse, then go in there with some sandpaper. I personally like to use 120 grit and give it a sand, especially if it's shiny veneer like this. And what that will do is it will help the paint adhere. Alright, so what I'm getting started with today is Hampton Olive from the Silk Mineral range. The Silk Mineral paint has a built-in primer and a built-in top coat, so it makes it a really easy paint to use because there's not a lot of messing around, and also it dries tough as nails. So what I'm going to paint this with today is the Scarlet brush, and this is a very good synthetic brush. You should use a synthetic brush when painting with silk because this will minimise brush strokes and just make it go on so much easier and smoother. And the reason why I'm using the Scarlet in particular for this one is because obviously you can see there's a lot of little thin areas I need to get into, and the Scarlet brush is perfect for that. So with the silk paint, it's also a good idea to use a fair amount. Go in there with a fair amount on your brush. Don't overwork it, to just use nice long strokes. And as soon as this paint starts pulling, you need to stop. You shouldn't use water with silk mineral paints because it can change the properties and affect the top coat and the primer and things in it. So you just go straight in there with the paint. Put a fair amount on your brush and then just use long brush strokes, and that will get you the best result. Silk also has excellent coverage, so for the Hampton Olive today I will only be going in there with 2 coats because 2 coats just covered the piece absolutely perfectly. It is just such lovely and easy paint to use, especially if you just want a really nice one colour finish to your furniture. Right, up next is the Copper and Blondes Glaze. We're going to add a little bit of character to this piece now. The silk paint is dry. It's recommended that you leave 2 hours between every coat for dry time, and then just using a chip brush I'm just going to apply the glaze in sections. It looks very pink here, but I promise you it's not. It will dry a copper bronze kind of colour. And then I'm just getting some kitchen roll and I am just tapping off any excess, and the kitchen roll will also create some different textures just to get a little bit of depth and, as I say, a little bit of character going on there as well. So as usual guys, all of the products that I use today are listed below, and you can also get your products through those links too. So I have also left the silk paint to dry overnight, so it's recommended if you apply a transfer just leave the silk paint to dry overnight, because then the paint won't pull off. The paint will be absolutely ready for the transfer. So I've chopped up pieces of my transfer now, and I am just applying this in sections. So I have got a very awkward bit of furniture here to apply the transfer onto. As you can probably see, there are lots of little corners and crevices, and that is just something that I'm going to work with today, but it's doable and I'm going to show you how. So I started on the outer edge there, and I didn't, if you can see actually flapping in the wind there. So that part isn't actually stuck down. I'm actually just sticking this down in sections. So right there, I'm going around the outer edges of the drawers. And then once I've actually stuck that down onto the outer edges of the drawers, then I will move on to the inner part. I hope that makes sense. It's really hard to explain little things like this sometimes. But yeah, just work in sections, take your time, and just, I like to pull off the backing sheet ever so gradually so that I can see what is going on underneath, especially if you have got some little funny corners and things that you need to work around. So once you've applied your transfer, make sure you give it a good burnish as well. So by that, all I mean is all you need to do is get your hand, give it a very, very gentle rub. This will smooth out any edges that might just be slightly lifting, and also what it will do is take out any air bubbles, because you don't want any air bubbles in your transfer because eventually they will lift. So the great thing about the Magnolia Garden transfer is that you can build it up and you can just create your own look with it. There are lots of different branches, different size branches, different leaves, different flowers that you can kind of just add on as your own. And as you can see here, you can also overlap them, so you don't necessarily have to give each little part of the transfer its own space. You can also overlap them, and by overlapping them, what that does is it creates a genuine sort of garden feel. So when you go out into your garden or nature or whatever and you look at flowers, obviously the flowers aren't uniform. They aren't like in a straight line. It's only like that if you play like an old Sega game or something. So yeah, so don't be afraid to overlap your transfers. It's absolutely fine to do that. Alright, if you're new to transfers, it might be worth just maybe not going straight for the corners and the weird crevices and things. So I am using a flat surface here, so this part of the transfer is going on a flat surface on the drawer, and this is much easier than, you know, going around all those little fiddly bits. So if you are new to transfers and you're a little bit nervous, then especially if you're nervous, then just start simple and apply them to a flat piece of furniture and then build your way up to the weird corners, because I don't want you to start, you know, and then using a transfer and then putting it around a corner and then thinking, oh my gosh, I can't make this work. I hate transfers, they're not for me. It's just that it takes a little bit of time and experience to build up to that point. So just start simple and just apply it to a flat area and you will be absolutely fine. There is also a big range of transfers in the bells and whistles range. So if you feel like this Magnolia one is not for you, then there are definitely lots of different styles that will definitely suit your style. Alright, what I'm spraying on here is Easy Peasy Spray Wax, which is a clear wax, and then I am going in with some white wax from the Best Dang wax range. So the white wax is just going to make this look a little bit more faded. It's just going to soften up the Hampton Olive and the transfer a little bit. The reason I've put the Easy Peasy Spray Wax on first is because then I can go in with the clear wax afterwards and use it as almost like an eraser. So I will be spraying my brush periodically with the Easy Peasy Spray Wax and just blending it in, and that way it will just soften up the white wax as well. So the wax also will dry and harden. The silk paint obviously doesn't need to be protected because it has an amazing built-in top coat, but the transfer however does. So the wax will also protect the transfer and stop it from lifting because the wax will harden. Also, if you don't want to mess around with the clear wax and you just want to go straight in there with a white wax, it's kind of just down to personal preference. All you need to do is just grab some water and a damp rag or something like that, and because it is a water-based wax, the white wax will lift. I will also let the wax sit for 15 minutes and then wipe off any excess. Alright, so now that the wax is dried, I'm coming in with a Dixie Belle finishing pad and I'm just buffing all of this out. This will just ensure that any rough edges on the transfer are kind of softened, and also it just gives it a really nice lovely sheen, and it's just going to highlight the whole piece and just bring it to life. Okay, what I have here is an artist brush, and it's natural bristled, and also some gemstone mousse in amber, which I have mixed just a dash of gloss clear coat in just so that it has a built-in sealant, and I'm applying this all around the edges of the drawers. So the reason why I have a natural bristled artist brush, and it's quite an old one, and it's very oh, what do you call it? It's very scratchy. It's a very scratchy artist brush, and that is because I'm not into perfect looks. I like things to look very rustic and almost uneven sometimes. So I am building on top of the copper bronze glaze here by using a copper coloured mousse, and I'm applying this all around the edges of the drawers in various, it's going to be thicker in places and thinner in others, because I just want this look like maybe some of the copper has faded over time. And here's the finished look. I think it's super elegant and pretty. I really love it, and it's going to be going in my own home. It's going to go in a little planty area in my bedroom. Let me know if you know the perfect plant that might suit the top of this. But as always, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I think this is something that anybody at any level would be able to do, because it's just a timeless look and very, very easy to do. So I'd be interested to hear if you have used this transfer before, or if you are going to use the silk paint, and what you thought of it. So have a lovely day, guys, and as always, happy painting.